I think that's very clear that the overall academic environment is very positive towards internationalization, globalization of their campus. And that's clear from a four-year college as well as the research-intensive universities. Dan Moat in the Institute of Medicine, the Academy report actually was talking about the idea that the formation and the pursuit of internationalization, globalization of the campus can seem like a very largely decentralized process. And you've heard that somewhat today from, as I say, crossing your fingers to the slow trickle to really now developing strategic plans, strategic part of the university's plans for this globalization. We also heard today throughout is that there's very few constraints for universities, for faculties to forge research collaborations with foreign governments, academic institutions, and companies, including, as I said, that gave a scare for me too, the bridge in Taiwan. There's also incredible opportunities for U.S. students. Undergraduate, we focus a lot on graduate students, but undergraduates and graduate students and postdocs, especially in this international economy that we have. And so it's really quite important. It's interesting because if you look at some of the NASFA statistics for undergraduates going abroad, it tends to be more women than men. But then when we're looking at the graduate students, as Marissa brought up, you also see this now difference. I found that very interesting. And so today, what we're really going to talk about, and you're already hearing, is things about what works, but I want the panel to be very forthcoming with what didn't work, things that they've actually tried on their campuses, tried with the faculty, and even though the best laid plans seemed fantastic, it really didn't work, so that we can learn from that as well in a way of creating an environment at universities so they're productive, sustainable, and value added. You know, one of the questions I told him I was going to ask first was the one in terms of ask everyone to kind of go through what didn't work. But I'm going to change, I'm going to ask that second, because a lot of the themes that came across I thought was very interesting, and it follows up with the question that Kiki Kararson, and please apologize if I pronounced your name incorrectly, at the University of South Florida. It was interesting, I think Prima first brought it up, that the faculty that have the international collaborations tend to be the most productive and successful faculty. And we heard that across, you know, Martin and Marty, you know, said that as well. But we also heard that if we look at who really does this collaborations, it's after you get tenure. And then we have also the U.S. bubble that was brought up. But one of the questions is says, should international engagement be recognized specifically in the tenure and promotion process? Or is it relevant in the context of activities already considered, such as research and teaching more generally? And I want to put this to the panel because in terms of at your universities and as Dean, you know, how do you weigh, you know, getting the globalization in sort of in early, integrated in with your new faculty, or is it really something that we wait until after the tenure process or after the senior thing? So who wants to go first?
Well, I think I tried to bring this up during my presentation. If we take the approach that the best work that you do can be done here or it can be done in collaboration, then the driver is fundamentally for performance metrics. What's the best work? What are the best relationships? Where are the best collaborations? And sometimes, I think we're hearing this, it's from global partnerships. So that's the driver for me. And so when it comes down to then promotion and tenure, I think there's the old guard and then the new wave. Young faculty do want to be internationally engaged, but if we have the old guard retaining the old mindsets of international engagement as being something that you do after you've got promotion and tenure, it doesn't work that way, right? If we think of it more from the context of you doing the best work, who do you need to be collaborating with to get that accomplished? So that's my 2 cents.
I'm just going to go straight down the list. So we'll go straight
So
down.
how many people here are from land-grant universities? Okay, a large number. I see Dave Salmon's out there from Florida. A land-grant university has to think about engagement. We added specific language 2 years ago to our tenure and promotion criteria about engagement. We didn't differentiate whether you're working through extension or whether you're working internationally. I read 84 tenure and promotion files 3 weeks ago, which we do every year, and it's just amazing to see what the campus is doing. What was so impressive is everybody who's now internationally engaged includes that in their tenure and promotion files. I think it's really essential for universities to get that. If you're not a land-grant university, it might be a little tougher to put through, but this is what our mission always has been.
Yeah, I could add, we recently modified our promotion and tenure guidelines and to emphasize collaboration and team science as an approach, because too often in the past, and I think it's still part of our culture, just because we change the guidelines doesn't flip a switch, too often we have promoted those who are solo operators, who can prove they're fiercely independent, do everything by themselves on their own in the confines of their own research enterprise. So I think just opening up the notion to collaboration, be it internal or external, has helped us. And then, as I alluded to, some of our fields are prone to work across the globe, and those are almost always collaborative efforts.
In many ways, this is all about risk and risk management. It's getting engaged internationally is taking a risk. Collaborating is also taking a risk. International collaboration is risk squared, I think. And you have to think of it that way. And I think many of us are torn if we're trying to provide advice to younger faculty. It's easy for us to say, take risks. They will pay off, maybe. But you may also pay a big price. And I don't know what to tell faculty about that because they're going to get hammered if they co-author something with too many people. They're going to get hammered if they publish in foreign journals, because the assumption is going to be that they weren't good enough to publish. That's what their colleagues are going to think. I mean, it's real. So I think that's a real. I mean, this is a real meaty issue to wrestle with. And I don't know where to begin.
I agree very much with Marty, and there are one more structural issue. Coming from a graduate school and having worked there and being socialized there, we try very much to have a reasonable time to doctoral degree and not too long. Now, when you go to and do at least, which is really useful, is 6 months being abroad. It must not be in one batch, but at that time, so you also understand really the differences, how research is done and what the culture is. Then it extends time. Now, often our NSF grants, other grants and fellowships are by 5 years. So here we come back to the risk. So we really need to see also how our efficiency and accountability model works against it. And it's more of those things which rub each other. A second aspect is I found, and I don't have a large enough N yet because I focus on IGATs and they have 25 students, but soon I will come to about 200 of Ns. Seeing that always those students on the graduate level or in the doctoral level who are involved in international engagement say they really come into trouble if their own faculty advisor has never been abroad. They said they're well-meaning, but they're just not supportive, they don't understand. So you can very much encourage your faculty, the younger ones specifically, do take the opportunity of doing a sabbatical leave or a summer in another countries, because this is the best preparation for your own students, and increasingly our doctoral students need to have intercultural awareness and skills. for the next century, or for this century, that's essential. So one of the asking, definitely if we can include in the tenure and promotion, that international experience counts and also the publication there. But one other thing would be very useful. We know that our faculty is priority loyalty is to their field, their discipline, their professional association. And some chemistry now started to have special awards also for international activities. I think more in our professional working with them and being on special committees and boards who promote that. And as I say again, I was both in chemistry and geography last year in their annual meetings, and they have now special symposia which are not just on the margins but really centralized. So that may be another way of giving awards and rewards to our faculty.
Very briefly, I worked with many universities and my own university as well, and I always say to associate deans and provosts and many chairs and leaders at the university to engage in conversation with faculty, new faculty in particular, and try and find out where their interests are, and certainly promote that and nurture that and support that. Identifying who the international collaborators are helps me at the institutional level go out and try and match or seek opportunities, where, as I mentioned in my slides, a pharmaceutical company wants to engage some faculty in pharma research. I'm able to match that type of thing. And if I can't do it at my own university, I know enough people at other universities where I'll match them. I'm not, my job is to promote knowledge creation. That's how I see it. Right? I will disagree and agree with Marty on one thing. I agree with him that a lot of us in America, we look at publications in international journals with a little bit of tongue-in-cheek. I could tell you, as someone who was educated in England and who has published in international journals, we're pretty arrogant as a society. And I can tell you that there are plenty of publications that aren't generated in the USA that have extremely high standards. And I could think of one in England in particular that far exceeds American standards. So I'd be a little tongue-in-cheeky about that. I tell faculty, you publish where you have to publish. You do it in a good way, and you promote it in the most positive way. And don't worry about what other people think about it. Get out there and make a name for yourself. And that's what's important.